All right, back with another video. This one will be solo again. It's Sunday, and typically the group has more availability on Saturdays, but being a dad, having a family, sometimes you gotta, do family stuff. So yesterday went to Academy Sports Store and got our kids some new soccer cleats and shin guards. Feet are growing fast, and then the wife spent however much time shopping around for herself and such. But getting presents from Santa to give to the kids, and other people. So that is life, right? I'm going to answer a few questions that I have, make this one a little bit shorter, just so I can have something uploaded for you guys. And again, try to keep this podcast rolling and help you guys out. A free way for you guys to get information and a free way for you to get my opinions on specific subjects, ailments, diseases, and such, and how to use peptides or lifestyle supplementation. And I prefer nutrition to be my foundation for a lot of these management tools. The first question that we have, he was asking about how to increase leptin sensitivity. Now, leptin helps to create a feeling of fullness. Granulin helps to increase the need for hunger. So, we in the bodybuilding industry sometimes take things to increase granulin so that we can eat more food and we can grow bigger and have more energy. So, sometimes people will use GHRP6, MK677. EQ is another one that sometimes people will use, and they seem to have an increased hunger effect. I've never seen that in my opinion, but he's talking about leptin now. I'm assuming this person help to wants to help lose weight this way. Um, Now the one thing that we know is that leptin, the more white adipose tissue you have, the more fat you have, the more leptin your body will create. The problem is that whenever we get overweight, we get what's called hyperleptinemia. So we just have a lot of leptin being released. However, these engorged adipocytes, they like are white fat cells. Um, they cause leptin resistance. So the same. So how you hear insulin resistance, think about this with leptin. So the receptors on the leptin and what it needs to do its job, it's been dumbed down, it's been destroyed, and it's hard for the leptin to do its job. And so it just keeps pumping out more and more and more because it thinks that that this person needs food, right? So that's why fat people, they technically should have more leptin, which means they should be less hungry, but because of the leptin resistance and the body keeps pumping it out, it makes it inefficient and it causes them to just not feel the leptin to reduce the hunger. So, which is why GLP-1s have become so popular with this, as far as being an aid for blood sugar management, but then also the side effect is losing body fat whenever you get that under control, and then that makes you more leptin sensitive. So theoretically, lean people, so like myself, should have less leptin production because the body thinks that it has less fat cells, so I need to eat more food just in case there's a time of famine um, or whatnot, right? But I have very good leptin sensitivity, and some people they just have a higher response to it, like it's just stronger that the receptors. So um, yeah, so in theory, fat people should have less hunger because of all the leptin, but again, it's not doing its job. It's not working well. So, um, I think that answers your question. But as far as like increasing leptin, I mean, there's nothing really that we can do with the hippocampus as far as natural besides just our diet, which can increase fullness, which then can increase the GLP-1 production naturally, right? So a tool that people use for that is specific probiotics, the fibers that we intake from foods, protein, and then also good sleep. I think that plays a critical role because it can also control cortisol level, which then, if we have an imbalance of too much cortisol when we don't need it, that may lead for us to have a hunger spike as well. Now, with the hippocampus, you could take things like glandulars in a pill form rather than bioregulators, where those are usually injected. And that's something that we see happen overseas, like in Russia and Germany. They do utilize bioregulators a lot more. Now, the reason why I say that is just because we there's very strong evidence that the organ that we intake from the cow, typically, or the pig, will help the organ in our body that needs to be repaired. So, alike tissues help alike tissues. That's the theory behind it. That's the evidence. And we see really good um, results in that empirical evidence because we have seen people who have come off of thyroid medication who are menopausal or estrogen medication. And those people are using a blend of organs from cows, and they do have the female organs in them as well. So, coming back to leptin, I would just focus on trying to eat foods that are uh, higher volume of nutrition and some fiber in there, but not too much fiber to where it makes you uncomfortable and distended, because that's another thing. I think sometimes we eat a lot of fiber or vegetables or food in general, and then we feel uncomfortable, and then that can lead to a cascade effect of having a gut microbiome issue now for a short period of time, or it could lead to chronic issues if you do this repetitively, which we see in fitness industry. So just be smart about it. Be doing everything in moderation. But yeah, the adipocytes, so like the white adipose tissue, they will help with increasing leptin. But again, it doesn't matter how much leptin you make if your body is resistant to it. So, um, so this bleeds into my next question regarding GLP-1s, specifically retatrutide, and I'm a big fan of retatrutide. I've been taking it for almost a year now. I think maybe it's like 10 months or something, 9 months, 10 months. I don't know. It's been a while. And I'm still at 1 milligram every single week. So every 7 days, do 1 milligram anywhere in the body. It doesn't have to be close to the belly button. I recall someone saying that it has to be close to the belly button because that's where the studies and doctors were uh, recommending patients do it because that's the only place that it works the best. And I think that that's just because compliance for patients, because a lot of people who are obese cannot turn all the way around and maybe hit different areas. But I do like to have the small amount of glucagon that's in there to be rotated to fattier areas because over a long period of time of doing this, it may have a local lipolytic effect. So, spot reduction. So I would say move it around. You don't have to be close to your stomach. You'll build up scar tissue if you keep doing it in one area. Yes, even sub Q. So we don't want that, right? Um, but so GLP-1s, this person wants to know, uh, they've heard that other people have had bad experiences coming off of GLP-1s, retatrutide specifically, this person's talking about, but we'll hit all GLP-1s. How do I come off? Do I go cold turkey? Do I titrate down? I hear people having binging disorders after coming off the drug because they have rampant hunger and it's more than what they were used to. Um, so here's the thing. Like I said before, the GLP-1s are therapy drugs. The side effect is fat loss. The reason why these people are having these binging problems coming off of the GLP-1 is because they are using it for weight loss. That's what happens. Well, just take it into accountability. You screwed up doing this. So let's go back to a therapy dose protocol. And yes, even doctors are doing this. They are giving too large of doses because they're not partnering up with an eating disorder therapist to control these person's eating habits. And yes, being fat and overweight, obese, that is an eating disorder. Just because you're fat and you eat uh, doesn't mean you're a normal American because every other American is fat and obese. You have an eating disorder. Okay. So going back to moderation, it's trying to figure out your triggers of why you have this binging problem. The drug is there to help control A1C, your blood sugar, to help regenerate organs and tissues, to help your body have better mitochondrial function. It is a longevity drug. Okay. It is not a weight loss drug. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say this. It's not. It is a therapy drug meant to help control blood sugar and the cascade effect of improving all systematic events in the body with all organs, cardiovascular health, um, uh, muscular health, cognitive health. You name it, it helps it because you're controlling the one thing that destroys it all, and that's type 2 diabetes. And again, I'm not talking about type 1 or any other special type of diabetes out there. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes because you caused this. It's not genetic. You're not predisposed to have type 2 diabetes. It's your fault. It's your accountability. Be an adult. Be responsible. Take accountability. Stop being a child and stop crying and playing the victim. You play the victim, and it just, I don't want to work with you, right? You can leave comments and claim about how everything is genetic. No, it's not. Gestational diabetes as well for all of you post-pregnancy women. It's not. It's not genetic. It's you screwed up. Whatever you ate 9 months before you got pregnant, and then what you're eating during the pregnancy, and then what you're eating 9 months after the pregnancy while you're breastfeeding, if you're breastfeeding, it's all screwing up the baby. Okay. And it's screwing you up too because your body is changing physiological events to help with creating that baby and making sure that it's nutritiously fed, but you're giving it a bunch of crap and you're not having the physical activity. And then that's all stressing you out because you feel like crap, you look like crap, and your baby feels like crap. And so that's the cascade effect. Okay. So now that's out of the way, you should be able to come off of a GLP-1, just cold turkey, because by that time, after you've been on it for months, you should have controlled whatever is causing you to overeat. The slowing down of the digestive gas, the gastric emptying. So if you're slowing that down, that's not a good thing. If you're slowing it down too much, you still want to have bowel movements because you still have to excrete toxins. Uh, your intestines are still a muscle. They're a smooth muscle. They're different than sarcoplasmic and contractile muscle, right? So it's different from the muscles that hold our bones up. But you want to get to the dose to where you're able to not fantasize or daydream about food and to be able to eat in a way that you feel satisfied but not full. Um, and this is more difficult for other people. So this is where it comes into individuality because we all have our different problems. We all have the things that traumatized us as a child or growing up. Maybe we grew up without food and or our mothers and fathers told us to eat everything on the plate. So I mean, you've seen those commercials where like they talk about that. But yeah, it sticks into your head as a kid, and you think it's normal because all of your other family does that, and then all of your other family is obese, and so that's normal for you. Whenever you go to a different country where everyone is not obese, again, you think that they're weird, right? You think that people are weird for having such small portions. But yeah, just come off of the GLP-1, man. You need to find something else to satisfy that craving of the dopamine hit that you get from the food, because that's really what you're seeking. The food should help with the serotonin, right? But the problem is that you keep seeking after it, the dopamine, because you're so screwed up with the dopamine serotonin balance. And you don't want to go on an SSRI or tricyclic medication just because that's going to screw you up even more. Like, why would you want to take fluvoxamine, right? You're just messing yourself up more. That's not a neurogenesis drug. It degrades you, right? You're destroying your synapses. So, um, yeah, just come off, man. And again, if you're not ready to come off because you haven't figured out why you binge eat or you can't stop eating or you never get full, you need to figure that out. That's something that a supplement isn't going to help you with. That's something that a drug isn't going to help you with. If you really want to do this naturally, not be dependent on the drug. Now, do I think GLP-1s are detrimental to your health in the long run? You know, it's hard to say because we have an issue with processed foods and some ingredients in our foods, high fructose corn syrup, um, the volume of food that we eat, the lack of activity. So I think it's all those other things that cause our body not to be able to handle drugs very well and to clear them out and to detoxify them. Yeah, we all have different genes and strengths of our genes and how we metabolize drugs out of our body. Some are fast, some are slow. But I think the healthier you are, your body's probably going to be healthier as well as far as the response of getting rid of things in your body for like when it needs to in a timely manner, so it doesn't sit around a long time. So, from what I see at a low dose, I think that is fine. The same way that a low dose beta blocker for someone is technically fine. I'm not a big fan of it, right? Low dose aspirin, same thing. It's technically fine. But if you can get away with it naturally, then go ahead. But I see the benefit of all these problems that were accruing on our body um, because of the standard of living nowadays. You can't get away from it unless you live in a tree, right? Xenoestrogens, forever chemicals, microplastics. You can't get away from it. If you drive a car, you're breathing in all the microplastics. If the car heats up or cools down and like freezing temperatures, it still releases microplastics. And then you turn your car on and now you're breathing them in. Okay. So whether you're eating them or breathing them, I'd rather eat them because my body can bind to different toxins and get rid of them, especially now with certain probiotics that we're finding out. They attack these types of forever chemicals. Um, in your lungs, man, it goes right to your alveola, you breathe it into your bloodstream. So I think that's worse. You can't get, we have phones now, we have 5G internet, we have LED lights, we have jobs that, they do keep us sedentary, but we have all these other modalities to help us overcome those things, right? We have the ability to go outside. We have backyards. Some of us have backyards. We have balconies. We can just go outside, take a walk, get some sun, touch some grass. We have walking pads now of all different sizes, and they can hold up to 350 pounds. You got to spend a little bit more money if you're 400, 500 pounds. And that's accountability, man. If you got to be so obese where you need like $2,000 pieces of equipment, that's your fault, man. But the price to get back to normal health and a better health and a more optimal health for you outweighs the price of that specialty piece of equipment to hold your body weight. Okay. There's not one person out there that is obese that is comfortable in their skin. If they say they are, they're lying. There's an embarrassment, there's a lack of self worth and self value that those people have. And it's not beauty in all shapes and sizes. It's not, it's beauty in all skin tones, right? And ethnicities and cultures, but not shapes and sizes, right? We need to get rid of that thinking and get back to what is healthy. Okay. Um, this other person is asking about GLP-1, like the faces and all that stuff, like the sunken in faces. Listen, it's going to happen if you are micro and macronutrient deficient. The problem with a lot of these people, they don't know how to go about eating and they do not exercise. They just take the drug again at a higher dose recommended by a doctor who knows nothing about it except for what the pharmaceutical rep told them. And they know that they can prescribe it and hit their quota. So they're just lacking nutrition and they're lacking physical activity. It takes both. You can't just take this drug and then eat nutritious food and not do the physical activity. You need to increase your lean muscle tissue. Muscle is muscle is a good indicator of how healthy you are and how long you will live. To reduce sarcopenia, okay, to reduce the risk of fractures, to reduce the risk of uh, bulging disc and all these things, right? Your muscles hold up your bones, okay? So with all other physical therapy modalities, plus the movement, plus the building of the tissue, the more muscle you have, the more carbohydrates you can store as glycogen, so you have energy later on because your liver can only store so much. The more muscle you have, the bigger person you are. Again, that's just the benefit of you having a better metabolism of food, which just means you're able to store better as long as you are insulin sensitive. So the insulin takes the glycogen to the right place, right? It reduces the risk of triglycerides, of high triglycerides. If you are insulin sensitive, great hemoglobin A1C, and you eat carbohydrates and you have physical activity daily, daily physical activity throughout the week. This is all of a benefit for you, and that is longevity, and that will keep you healthy and full of energy. And the other thing I recommend with this as well, people who are on GLP-1s, especially when you're starting off and you are obese, I would definitely do a fasted cardio because I would attack visceral body fat. And so subcutaneous body fat is what a lot of people will attack because that's what they can see. But the visceral body fat is around the organs, and that has huge detriment on your health. So it is obfuscated from the visual of us, but you see it whenever someone has a protruding, distended stomach. Typically, we call it a bear belly, but if you do a scan, I can bet you that they have a lot of visceral body fat and a lot of fat around their organs and inside their organs as well, hinting, hence the alcoholic fatty liver disease. Okay, which is different from non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which you will get from type 2 diabetes. And yes, you can have muscle and you can be a bodybuilder on stage, lean, not 3%, but like 5% body fat. And you can be the epitome of health if we look at you in a magazine. But that doesn't mean that you are insulin sensitive. That we have no clue what your hemoglobin A1C is. Um, so we have no clue what your fasting insulin is. So you could still be at risk. So you can get those scans to figure it out. But last question here, all catered around weight loss. Now, this one is talking about how do you how do you prevent the winter weight gain? So people think that this is like cyclical, like this is evolution. Um, it would be evolution if we lived in huts out in the tundra and we needed body fat to help keep us warm, but we have houses and heaters and clothing and technology to keep us nice and warm, right? So the problem with you with the holiday weight gain is, the 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 less light during the day, which again, that doesn't mean anything. Who cares if it gets darker? Yeah, it kind of people get sad or depressed seasonally, but that's a you problem. So that's your own accountability to how you handle that. Again, figure out what's going on. A lot of people need more therapy. I think there's a underutilization of therapists and an overutilization of medication and the food and beverage company helping people fill their void of sadness with food and sugar and Netflix to keep you on the couch to continue thinking about it. The winter weight gain should not happen. It's just you're just eating more and moving less. You're doing things for holidays, so you're probably going to a bunch of parties. Well, again, just freaking if it's potluck, bring a healthier dish. You don't have to use a stick of butter to make a freaking pie. I'm sorry. If you want to follow that racist Paula Deen's recipes, then go ahead. I mean, that's one thing that I don't understand. Like everyone has a problem with with so many people's opinions, but yet they're like, ah, I'll use two sticks of butter like her and one stick of butter for this small thing. It doesn't make any sense, right? Um, you love them for their cooking, but you hate them for their opinion about something else. Um, yeah, just stop using a bunch of unnecessary calories. You can get flavor with less. If you're trying to cook your holiday dishes with more butter and oils and all these things, guess what that means? That means you don't know how to cook because you're just hiding the fact that your food sucks with something that brings in this flavor, which people can do. I've seen people like kids eat sticks of butter, right? I mean, it is something that it can it can turn cabbage into something great, right? So if you steam cabbage and you give it to a kid, they're not going to eat it. I bet if you steam cabbage and you freaking put tons of butter all over it, I bet you they'll eat it, right? Butter and salt. Yeah. So how about you just stop doing that? That would be one thing to do. Stick to your routine. The routine should not change just because the time change or there is a holiday coming around. There's no reason to gain weight, man. I'm telling you, people just use it as an excuse. There's too many excuses being used because you don't want to do the hard work. You don't want to do the hard things. And you keep doing that every single year. And that part of your brain just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you have to work at that part of your brain to do hard things all the time. And then eventually that hard thing will become easy. And then you have to do something else that's hard to continue to hypertrophy that part of your brain. It will adapt, right? But it also becomes a habit. And then you no longer need motivation. Stop seeking motivation, start seeking discipline. Okay. That's going to help you prevent the holiday weight gain or the winter weight gain. Then you don't have to yo yo. I think it's far more laborious to keep this dieting going from up and down on the scale rather than just keeping a one type of lifestyle, you know? It's just like I've had a conversation about like keeping clothes for like the fat phase, and it's like in my head I understand because there's things that are hard to let go, and sometimes people they get into a healthy weight and a healthy lifestyle, but they don't know if they can sustain it. They're scared of that it might come back based on like what they see in their family, right? Or their friends, or what their friends said. Oh, I had that happen, but then I rebounded and gained it all back and then some. Well, that's because they failed because they didn't have discipline and they didn't have a plan and they didn't have the skill set before um, listening to them, right? They feel miserable, so they want you to join their misery. But it's just I think it's healthier in the long run. You want tighter skin, you want looking skin. You need to be at a specific weight for a long period of time and let your body adjust to it if you lost that weight. And you shouldn't be scared that the weight will come back if you keep these principles in your life. Moderation is everything, and you can still go to your holiday events, work, family, friends, and still manage a healthy weight. You just got to choose the right things to eat. And if you can bring like something to help with the party, bring healthier options. And if people see the way that you look and you feel, and you're honest about it, not just showing them on that day or just putting up bull crap on the internet saying, oh, like, it's like I hate that whenever people put stuff up on the internet that it's like you you only show the good things in your life, right? Or whenever something bad happens, you video record yourself uh, crying, which is really cringy and dumb, and I hate it. Or when they video themselves sleeping in bed. Like, I understand it's theatrical, but it was really cringy, man. Like it is. You're not a director. This isn't a movie. It's not a production. I think it's a really dumb way to vlog, because you're not making a point of anything. But just be true and honest. Everyone has ups and downs. Everyone has energy boosts and energy slumps. There's peaks and troughs in everything that we do, and it's okay. It's okay to talk about it. And what the main thing is what is the overall theme? Okay, as long as you are still profiting, if you're still in the red, then good. People are going to see that and they're going to want to ask you questions, and they will most likely want to follow. And maybe they might need to be nudged a little bit. So they might be asking a lot of questions, and then you can, just offer. I wouldn't offer advice because you're not an expert. I would offer them the person to go to for advice that you got it from. And hopefully they're not Dr. Oz or someone that's paid by media and gives very bad opinions and advice. So, you know, that's just my opinion on all that. If you want other people's opinions and advice, Dom Kuza, Chris Tuttle, Austin Stout, um, those are some really good people that I like to follow. Evan Centopani, just because he does have a family. Uh, but there's so many other people that are now uh, having families, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle all these questions that you guys have about weight gain or the weight loss, and then the rebound effect if it's coming, because I think we're over that mentality that you're going to have a rebound. I think once you find a easy way for you to keep the weight off and to keep you happy and to keep everything efficient in your life, it's going to be easy for you to keep the weight off and um, and be an example for others. Okay, that's it for today. And if you could just leave any questions or comments down below for the next episode and the algorithm. I don't care if you like or subscribe. I don't care. Just do what you want. I, I would love to have this channel get bigger so I can have guests on, you know, like the people I just talked about or others in this industry and outside of the industry that you probably haven't heard of, but are really into fitness and other um, lifestyle choices to improve their lifestyle. So I think that's it. I will talk to you guys later in December.